Part of education has been closed for about 2 years now. Part of it has had some minimal interaction. There is a lot of uncertainty, anxiety and fear among both parents and students. It is high time education is also opened. In a planned manner, we can allow a few classes at school for a planned period of time, but to ensure that there is progress. We cannot keep closed anymore. Teachers were among the people that were prioritized for vaccination, but I think there was no clear planning and coordination. We are told schools will open only when people have been vaccinated, but we are not seeing a clear plan as to how many teachers have vaccinated so far, how many are remaining, and in which period the government is expecting to have vaccinated them, and therefore at what time should we expect the schools open. It is an open communication which leaves a lot of uncertainty. Yes, teachers were prioritized, and I think even in the vaccines that we are getting so far, they should be still prioritized, so that when they are fully vaccinated, then we can be able to open schools with a high level of safety. People have been talking about the vaccination of children, the students and the pupils in primary school. I think that is not something that we expect to happen soon. In the first place, there is only one vaccine, Pfizer, which has been proved to work for children, and we don't have it here. And secondly, science has shown us that children, although they get infected, they are not much affected. So the ministry should be basing on the statistics. If some people have been infected and others have died, how many of those who have been infected are in school going age, and how many of them have died, so that when we are making these decisions, we are informed by data which we have in our reach. But if teachers can be vaccinated, then schools can be properly opened, fully opened actually. For now, we should have a programmed phased opening as it were in the beginning, so that we use standard operating procedures to ensure that there is continuity in education, which we've been missing. Online education is a mode of education that has been ongoing for many years among especially developed countries. Many people have undertaken online programs and they have earned certificates, even degrees. So the starting point is online education is possible and it is doable. But it requires a lot of planning and a lot of resources and a lot of infrastructure. For now, I know there are schools that are already running online education. They should be given priority. Part of the conversation on managing education in this COVID period should be, how do we facilitate the schools that already have the capacity, and then the alternative modes of education delivery for the kids who may not be able to access online education. I want to give an example. During the first lockdown, the government had promised to print materials for all the students in school, but it did not print even half of it. So if we have half of the students enrolled online, then the government would be planning for even a smaller number of those children that may not be able to go online. But yes, online education is an effective way of teaching and learning, but it needs to be planned and facilitated. It will be the most unfortunate thing if 2021 is a dead year. There has been progress for the classes that have gone to school, from the university through secondary and even through primary school. Unfortunately, there are few classes, P1, P2, P3, even nursery, even senior 5, who have not had the opportunity of going to school since the first lockdown. That's why my recommendation would have been, even with this lockdown, those classes should be at school so that they complete and there is continuity. And then once those classes have been have progressed, then the ministry must still roll out a program which is going to ensure that students are going to continue without having a dead year, because a dead year has so many implications on the children, on the parents, but even on the schools themselves. So it is possible to ensure continuity without a dead year, but because of the uncertainty of the current lockdown, then chances are high it might be difficult to cover up, especially for the classes that have not been progressed. But my request to the ministry, to the schools, is that there should be a planned program of ensuring that students do not miss a year and having a dead year as part of their education progress. Given that schools are closed and there is no progress, I want to think that there is some form of dilemma. But whether that dilemma is informed by the data that we have is something that I don't know. Why? Because some sectors have been opened, partially opened. So there was a possibility that even schools could still be partially opened. They may be having information and data that we are not having, but looking at the general situation of how we are managing the COVID response, the schools at least should partially open. Now that dilemma, whether it exists or not, in my view it should not exist, because we already have experience, we've already seen how schools have managed, and surprisingly schools like international schools are operating, they have not closed. So if international schools are operating, yes, the argument is that they do not have so many students, so they are not as congested as local schools. That's what I'm saying. If there is phased opening of schools to reduce the congestion and reduce the infection levels, then there is no reason why the ministry should be having a dilemma. Why that dilemma exists is something that is also concerning me. Otherwise, as you said, as far as I'm concerned, I would say schools should open immediately. Let it be a phased opening so as to reduce the congestion, but allow the progress so as to save the time.